Silence is more than the absence of words. It is a profound statement of control and self-mastery. For someone who thrives on chaos, attention, and drama, silence can be their kryptonite. It denies them the validation they crave and forces them to face their own inner void. When you refuse to respond, you reclaim the power they tried to take from you. Your silence becomes a wall they cannot penetrate, a boundary they cannot cross, and a mirror reflecting their inability to manipulate you. Silence creates a pause, a moment of stillness in which you can breathe and recalibrate. When dealing with someone who seeks to provoke, silence is your shield. Instead of being drawn into their game, you hold your ground. This isn't about passivity, it's an active choice to disengage from their tactics. It tells them, you don't control my emotions and you don't control this narrative in that space. You gain clarity and control. To a narcissist, attention is their lifeblood. Every reaction you give, whether it's anger, frustration, or even defense, is energy that feeds their ego. Silence, on the other hand, is like cutting off their oxygen supply. It deprives them of the satisfaction they seek and forces them to confront their own insecurities. Your silence says, I am not your source of validation, and I am not here to fill the void you refuse to face. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation, but about choosing your battles wisely. When someone tries to bait you into an argument, silence is often the most disarming response. It removes their power to escalate the situation and places the responsibility for their behavior squarely back on their shoulders. In those moments, your silence becomes a testament to your strength, an unspoken declaration that you refuse to stoop to their level. When you choose silence, you also choose yourself. You create a safe space where you can focus on your own thoughts, feelings, and healing. Silence allows you to process what's happening without being overwhelmed by their noise. It's a way to protect your peace and maintain your emotional well-being. In the quiet, you find your voice, not the one they want to manipulate, but the one that belongs solely to you. Silence is a boundary in action. It communicates your unwillingness to engage in toxicity without needing to explain or justify yourself. Words can be twisted, but silence cannot be misinterpreted. It's a clear and powerful message that you value your energy and refuse to waste it on someone who doesn't respect it. Silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. To practice the power of silence, you must become comfortable with discomfort. There will be moments when you feel compelled to respond, to defend yourself, or to correct their narrative. Resist that urge. The strength of silence lies in its consistency. It's not about winning the moment, but about winning back your peace in the long term. Over time, your silence will speak volumes about your self-worth. Silence doesn't mean indifference, it means prioritizing yourself. It's a deliberate act of self-care, a way of saying, I am more than your chaos, more than your provocation. When you embrace the power of silence, you step into a space where you control your inner energy, your emotions, and your life. Silence is not empty, it is full of intention, full of strength, and full of you. Boundaries are the foundation of self-respect. When you set boundaries, you are not only defining how others may treat you, but also declaring your own worth. A fortress doesn't just appear, it is built brick by brick, with each stone representing a non-negotiable standard you set for your life. Boundaries are not about keeping everyone out, they are about protecting what's inside your peace, your energy, and your sense of self. Building boundaries requires clarity. You must first understand what you value and what you need to feel safe and respected. Without this self-awareness, it's easy to allow others to overstep your limits. A strong fortress has defined walls, and so must your boundaries. Knowing where you stand makes it easier to communicate your expectations clearly and confidently to others. This clarity is your blueprint, guiding every interaction. A fortress is impenetrable because it has consistent defenses. Similarly, your boundaries must be upheld with unwavering resolve. Inconsistency invites intrusion. When you say no, mean it. When you set a limit, enforce it. The moment you allow exceptions, you weaken your stance and signal that your boundaries are negotiable. Consistency is key to showing others that your peace is not up for debate. Boundaries are not meant to punish, they are meant to protect. They are an act of self-love and a way to ensure healthy relationships. People who genuinely care about you will respect your limits. Those who push back or test your boundaries reveal their unwillingness to honor your needs. A fortress doesn't apologize for its walls, and neither should you. Protecting yourself is never selfish, it's essential. Setting boundaries also means being comfortable with discomfort. Not everyone will like your boundaries, and some may try to guilt or manipulate you into breaking them. This resistance is often a test of your resolve. Stand firm, even when it feels difficult. A fortress withstands storms because it is built to endure. Your ability to hold the line will ultimately strengthen your relationships and weed out those who do not belong in your life. Communicating boundaries is as important as setting them. A fortress has visible walls, and so should your limits. Be direct and assertive without aggression. For example, say, "I can't take on this task right now," rather than offering vague excuses. Clear communication leaves no room for misunderstanding and reinforces the seriousness of your boundaries. It ensures that others know exactly where you stand. Enforcing boundaries requires action, not just words. If someone crosses your line, there must be consequences. A fortress guards its gates, and so must you. This might mean stepping away from a toxic relationship, saying no to unreasonable demands, or distancing yourself from situations that drain your energy. Boundaries without consequences are like a fortress with open doors they fail to protect. Boundaries are a reflection of your inner strength. They show the world that you know your worth and will not tolerate less than what you deserve. When you set boundaries like a fortress, you create a life that is secure, intentional, and full of respect. Your boundaries define your freedom by ensuring that only what aligns with your values and well-being is allowed into your space. Validation is the currency of the narcissistic ego. Every compliment, every concession, every time you bend to their will, you're feeding a beast that thrives on external approval. Refusing to validate their ego is not about withholding kindness or being cruel. It's about denying them the control they seek over your emotions and actions. It's a way of reclaiming your autonomy and refusing to play into their manipulative games. The first step in refusing to validate their ego is recognizing their tactics. Narcissists are skilled at fishing for praise and creating situations where they expect you to affirm their superiority. This might come in the form of exaggerated stories, self-aggrandizing remarks, or even playing the victim. When you see through these ploys and withhold the validation they seek, you disrupt their sense of control. Refusing to validate doesn't mean engaging in conflict. It means disengaging strategically. Instead of countering their claims or giving them the response they expect, you remain neutral. A simple nod, a non-committal HM, or even silence can deflate their attempts to draw you in. This approach removes the emotional energy they crave without escalating the situation. One of the most powerful ways to refuse validation is by redirecting the focus. Narcissists want the spotlight, they crave being the center of attention. By shifting conversations away from them, asking about others, focusing on neutral topics, or steering the discussion towards shared goals, you subtly deny them the dominance they seek. This not only minimizes their influence, but also helps you maintain a balanced dynamic. Another key aspect of refusing to validate their ego is avoiding over-explanation or justification. Narcissists often challenge your boundaries or decisions in an attempt to extract more attention. Responding with brief, firm statements rather than elaborate explanations sends a clear message: you are not seeking their approval, nor are you willing to be drawn into unnecessary debate. Refusing to validate their ego also involves controlling your own emotional reactions. Narcissists are skilled at provoking responses, whether through flattery, criticism, or manipulation. When you respond calmly and without emotion, you rob them of the satisfaction they seek. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, but rather channeling them into constructive actions that reinforce your independence. It's important to maintain your focus on your own values and goals. Narcissists often attempt to derail your priorities by demanding constant attention or approval. By staying centered on what matters to you, you naturally deprive their ego of the energy it craves. This doesn't just protect your well-being, it reinforces your autonomy and self-worth. Finally, refusing to validate their ego is a practice of self-respect. It's about acknowledging that you are not responsible for propping up someone else's fragile sense of self. When you stop feeding their need for validation, you create space for healthier interactions and protect your own energy. This shift may not change them, but it will change how they impact you in your life. Mirroring the behavior of a narcissist is a subtle yet powerful strategy to reflect their actions back to them without reacting emotionally. It's not about imitating their behavior in a way that escalates the situation. Rather, it's about showing them their own reflection without judgment or aggression. This technique forces them to see themselves as they truly are, revealing the disconnect between their words and actions. When you mirror a narcissist's behavior calmly, you neutralize the power they have over you. They often expect a specific reaction from others, whether that's anger, sympathy, or validation. By responding in a way that echoes their actions, you avoid giving them the satisfaction they crave. This approach doesn't fuel their sense of superiority or need for control, but rather subtly highlights their inconsistency. Mirroring can be an effective way to expose their hypocrisy. Narcissists are notorious for demanding one set of behaviors from others while exempting themselves from the same rules. If they make unreasonable demands or disrespect your boundaries, calmly reflecting their behavior, such as saying, "It seems like you don't respect my boundaries," forces them to confront their own behavior without confrontation. This helps shift the dynamic and puts the onus on them to acknowledge their actions. One of the key benefits of mirroring is that it disarms their manipulation tactics. Narcissists often use guilt, gaslighting, or emotional appeals to manipulate others into doing their bidding. By mirroring their behavior, you take away the emotional charge from the situation. For example, if they accuse you of something without evidence, calmly respond with, "That's an interesting accusation. Let's look at the facts and see how they react." This brings the focus back to reality and lessens their power to distort it. Another important aspect of mirroring is that it helps you maintain emotional control. Narcissists thrive on provoking others into reactions, using tactics like belittling, blaming, or playing the victim. When you mirror their behavior without getting emotionally triggered, you keep the upper hand. You don't give them the emotional payoff they seek, and you avoid falling into the trap of escalating the drama. This maintains your composure and takes the wind out of their sails. Mirroring can also help you distance yourself emotionally from the situation. Instead of feeling personally attacked or hurt by their actions, you begin to view their behavior as just another pattern that doesn't have to affect you. You separate their words from your sense of self-worth and refuse to internalize their toxicity. This detachment allows you to respond more thoughtfully and strategically, rather than being swept away by their emotional turbulence. By mirroring their behavior calmly, you force the narcissist to either adjust their actions or continue exposing themselves in a way that undermines their credibility. Narcissists often rely on their ability to dominate conversations and influence others. When their behavior is mirrored back to them, they lose their sense of control. This can lead to moments of self-reflection or, more commonly, confusion, both of which disrupt their ability to manipulate. The true power of mirroring lies in your ability to stay neutral. You're not engaging in an emotional power struggle, but rather creating a calm, reflective environment in which their behavior can no longer hide behind distractions. By doing so, you take away their ability to play the victim or aggressor, keeping the focus on their actions and holding them accountable without confrontation. Narcissists are experts in manipulation, using charm, guilt, flattery, and sometimes even aggression to control others. The key to rising above their manipulation is to recognize it for what it is: a tactic designed to serve their own needs at the expense of your peace and boundaries. By understanding their strategy, you can deflect it with calm and confidence, reclaiming your autonomy without getting caught in their web. The first step to rising above manipulation is awareness. Narcissists often use subtle tactics to draw you in, from playing the victim to using emotional blackmail. Recognizing these patterns is crucial, as it allows you to separate their manipulation from your own emotions. When you see their behavior for what it is, you can choose not to engage. Awareness is the shield that protects you from being dragged into their games. Once you recognize the manipulation, it's important not to react emotionally. Narcissists thrive on provoking strong emotional responses because they use these reactions to maintain control. If you become angry, defensive, or anxious, you give them the power they seek. Rising above manipulation means staying calm, composed, and unaffected by their attempts to stir up your emotions. By remaining steady, you deny them the satisfaction of knowing they've impacted you. In situations of manipulation, setting clear boundaries becomes even more essential. Narcissists often test limits, seeing how much they can get away with. To rise above their manipulation, you must have a strong sense of your own boundaries and enforce them with confidence. When they attempt to push or cross those boundaries, calmly assert that their behavior is unacceptable and stick to your limits. This sends the message that their manipulations will not succeed in changing your course. Another effective way to rise above manipulation is to detach from the outcome. Narcissists often want to control how you think, feel, or behave, leading to frustration when you don't give them the response they expect. By detaching emotionally from the situation and focusing on your own needs and priorities, you create distance between their manipulative tactics and your own sense of self. This disconnection prevents them from influencing your emotional state, leaving them with no leverage. It's also crucial to maintain your sense of self-worth and confidence. Narcissists often use manipulation to undermine your confidence and create self-doubt. They may belittle your accomplishments, dismiss your feelings, or act superior to you. To rise above this, you must firmly anchor yourself in your own value. Remember that their need to control is a reflection of their insecurity, not a reflection of your worth. By holding fast to your sense of identity, you diminish their power to make you feel small or insignificant. Rising above manipulation requires patience and perseverance. Narcissists are persistent in their attempts to dominate and manipulate, and it's easy to become frustrated or tired of the constant struggle. However, by maintaining emotional distance and not giving in to their games, you create a steady, unwavering presence that doesn't succumb to their tactics. Over time, your consistency in rising above their manipulation will wear down their attempts and diminish their ability to control you. Finally, rising above manipulation involves taking responsibility for your own reactions. It's easy to blame the narcissist for their behavior, but the real power lies in how you respond. By choosing not to engage, not to react emotionally, and not to give in to their tactics, you take control of your own emotional landscape. This empowers you to make decisions based on your own values and desires rather than being pushed into actions based on their manipulations. Validation from others can feel reassuring, but when you rely on it, you give others the power to shape your self-worth. Narcissists, in particular, thrive on making others feel dependent on their approval, using it as a tool for control. To truly thrive without their validation, you must detach your sense of self from their opinions and cultivate a sense of self-worth that comes from within. This is a vital step toward reclaiming your power and peace. The first step in thriving without their validation is recognizing that their approval is not the measure of your value. Narcissists often make you feel as if their approval is essential for your success or happiness. This creates an imbalance where you constantly seek their approval, making your emotional state contingent on their perception of you. By acknowledging that their opinion is just one perspective and doesn't define who you are, you can begin to break free from this cycle. It's also important to develop self-validation, recognizing your own accomplishments and qualities without needing someone else to acknowledge them. This doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissive of others, but rather it means having a quiet confidence in your abilities and decisions. When you start to validate yourself, you remove the narcissist's power to control your emotions or actions. Self-validation builds internal strength and fosters resilience against external criticism. Narcissists often employ tactics that make you doubt yourself. They may undermine your confidence by belittling your achievements, questioning your decisions, or subtly making you feel inadequate. Thriving without their validation means learning to trust your own judgment and letting go of the need for their approval. When you make decisions based on what feels right for you, you stop seeking permission from someone who doesn't truly value your worth. Another essential component of thriving without their validation is setting goals and pursuing your passions independently. Narcissists often want to be the center of attention and may try to divert you from your own aspirations to focus on theirs. By staying committed to your own dreams and goals, you demonstrate that your life is not dependent on their involvement or acknowledgement. The more you focus on your own growth, the less power they have to influence your happiness or direction. Letting go of the need for validation also means accepting that not everyone will approve of your choices, and that's okay. Narcissists often expect people to agree with them and will criticize those who don't. When you thrive without their validation, you become comfortable with differing opinions and stop seeking approval from everyone around you. You no longer need external confirmation to feel worthy. Your self-worth becomes rooted in your authenticity and decisions. As you begin to thrive without their validation, you may notice that the need to please them diminishes. You stop adjusting your behavior, opinions, or actions to match what they expect or desire. This shift allows you to experience freedom and peace. Without the constant pressure to meet their standards, you can pursue your life with greater ease, knowing that you are the one who determines your value, not anyone else. Thriving without their validation also involves embracing your individuality. Narcissists often try to mold others into their image, seeking people who will reflect their own ideals and desires. By remaining true to yourself and your values, you challenge their desire for control. Your authenticity becomes your greatest form of resistance, showing that you don't need their approval to be whole, capable, or successful. Exposing the truth doesn't require shouting or confrontation. In fact, the most powerful way to reveal the truth is often with grace and composure. Grace doesn't mean avoiding the truth, rather, it involves communicating it in a way that minimizes harm while maintaining your integrity. When you expose the truth gracefully, you stand firm in your reality without engaging in unnecessary conflict or emotional escalation. The first step in exposing the truth gracefully is clarity. Before you address the situation, take time to gather your thoughts and ensure that what you're sharing is accurate and necessary. There's power in speaking from a place of certainty, and when you are clear on the truth, it's easier to communicate it calmly. Avoiding ambiguity not only strengthens your position, but also reduces the chances of being manipulated or misrepresented. Timing is equally important when revealing the truth. Choosing the right moment can make all the difference in how your message is received. If emotions are running high, it's often best to wait for a more neutral time to speak. Exposing the truth with grace means understanding that your words will land better when you allow space for calmness and reflection. By picking the right time, you ensure that the truth has room to be heard without triggering unnecessary defensiveness. The tone in which you deliver the truth is crucial. If your goal is to expose a narcissist's behavior or reveal an uncomfortable truth, using a calm, measured tone helps prevent the situation from escalating. When you speak with control and calm, it's harder for others to dismiss or distort what you're saying. You can communicate the truth firmly without resorting to anger or hostility, which can often cloud the message and give them ammunition to deflect. Empathy is another essential component of exposing the truth gracefully. While the truth may be difficult for the other person to hear, delivering it with empathy shows that you are not out to punish or hurt them, but rather to reveal something important. This doesn't mean you water down your message or shield them from accountability, but it does mean approaching the situation with an understanding of their perspective, even if you disagree with it. Grace lies in how you treat others in moments of discomfort. One of the most powerful ways to expose the truth gracefully is to use I statements rather than accusations. Instead of saying, "You lied, try, I felt hurt when I learned the truth about this situation." This subtle shift places the emphasis on your experience and feelings rather than attacking the other person directly. This approach can lower defenses and make it easier for them to listen rather than becoming immediately reactive. By speaking the truth with grace, you also avoid becoming entangled in their emotional drama. Narcissists may attempt to distort your message or shift the focus to themselves. By staying calm and steadfast in your delivery, you protect yourself from getting swept up in their manipulations. Grace allows you to remain centered and confident, ensuring that your truth is the focal point rather than their response. Exposing the truth gracefully is a reflection of your inner strength and self-respect. It shows that you don't need to resort to drama or aggression to make your point. Your truth stands on its own merit. When you communicate it with poise, you not only protect your integrity, but also set an example of how powerful and dignified honesty can be. Your ability to expose the truth without fanfare creates space for real understanding and growth. Letting go of toxic relationships, especially those with narcissists, can be one of the most difficult yet liberating decisions you can make. These individuals thrive on control, manipulation, and feeding off your energy. However, by choosing to let go, you free yourself from their influence and begin the process of healing. Letting go is not just about severing ties, it's about releasing the hold they have on your thoughts, emotions, and well-being. The first step in letting go is recognizing that your peace and happiness are worth more than maintaining a toxic relationship. Narcissists often make you question your worth, making you feel responsible for their happiness or actions. Letting go means acknowledging that their happiness is not your responsibility and your worth is not determined by their approval or behavior. This recognition creates the emotional space you need to step away and focus on your own growth. Once you recognize the need to let go, it's essential to distance yourself emotionally. Narcissists are skilled at keeping you entangled in their drama, using guilt or manipulation to reel you back in. To truly let go, you must learn to detach emotionally. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent. It means no longer allowing their behavior to control how you feel. By detaching emotionally, you free yourself from their manipulation, reclaiming your own emotional autonomy. Letting go also involves setting boundaries that protect your peace. Narcissists often push boundaries, testing how much they can get away with. When you set firm limits and enforce them, you send a clear message that you will no longer tolerate their toxic behavior. By maintaining these boundaries consistently, you signal that their presence in your life no longer serves your well-being. Over time, this makes it easier for them to fade away as they find it increasingly difficult to manipulate you. Another aspect of letting go is forgiving yourself for any guilt or doubt you may feel. Narcissists often make you feel as though you owe them something even after they've caused harm. You might feel guilty for walking away or for not doing enough to save the relationship. Letting go means releasing that guilt and forgiving yourself for prioritizing your own needs. Remember that you are not responsible for their behavior, and choosing to protect yourself is an act of self-respect. Letting go doesn't always mean cutting ties completely, but it does mean no longer investing your time, energy, or emotions into them. In some cases, fading from their life might be the most effective way to let go. Narcissists often rely on constant attention, validation, and emotional involvement from others. By gradually withdrawing and refusing to engage, you take away the supply they need to feel important. This naturally causes them to fade from your life as their attempts to draw you back become less successful. As you let go, it's important to focus on your own healing and self-care. Narcissistic relationships often leave emotional scars that require time and attention to heal. Use this time to focus on your well-being, rediscover your passions, and reconnect with your authentic self. The process of letting go is not just about removing someone from your life, it's about rebuilding your own sense of self and strength. Letting go and letting them fade is an act of empowerment. It's a decision to choose your peace over drama, your growth over stagnation, and your happiness over the chaos they bring. By releasing the hold they have on you, you open up space for healthier relationships, self-discovery, and a life where your worth is no longer defined by their actions. Letting go is the first step toward creating a future that is truly your own, free from the toxicity that once held you back.